Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business of Business podcast. I'm Roy. Today I've got a co-host. Terry is going to be sitting in with us.
Hello.
Hi, we've got an awesome guest. Eric Twiggs is the founding partner and president of the What Now movement. His mission is to build high-performing entrepreneurs, authors, and career professionals who are prepared for life's unexpected curveballs. He's the author of The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. The Discipline of Now has been recognized as a Global Top Ten Finalist for the 2020 Author Elite Awards in the category of Best Self-Help Book. Eric, thanks a lot for taking time to be with us. Wanted to show you, got my copy right here, so... As we said before we started recording, I think this turned into, it went from an interview to maybe a book review, book club type situation. We've both got our notes, and like I said, I'd ordered the book. It was sitting on my nightstand. Terry walked by and saw it and grabbed it up and started going through it, so I haven't even had time to enjoy my own book. I should have got two. You need to recommend everybody get two copies, one for you and one for your better half. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I confiscated it, that's for sure. And it's such an easy read. It just goes boom, boom, boom into the next thing, and you don't even have time to think about it.
Yeah, so I'm going to kick it off and let you get started, but I don't think it was a coincidence that this is a 12-step program. Is that correct?
No, I just think that 12 just tends to be kind of a number that represents like a process, right? Because and I think just overcoming procrastination is not like an event, right? It's a process you go through, and the good news is that with discipline, anybody can overcome procrastination and move towards their goals.
Can you repeat that one more time, what you just said?
Yeah, I mean, it's a process, you know? And so here's the thing, right? People always will say to me, "Oh, Eric, I am such a procrastinator. You don't understand. I am always late." But that's not your identity. Right. That's just habits that have been formed over time. That's whole thing of procrastinating. Right. So the 12 steps, you can take, get discipline, follow the path, and be better.
Yeah, and I think and I facetiously ask you to repeat that for that reason, because so many people feel like it's a trait that you're born with. But I'm a believer in that with discipline, if we can identify, first off, it is actually making the identification that we are procrastinators. That's number one. But then number two is, putting together a plan and being dedicated to work that plan to kind of to overcome whatever our shortcomings are. I mean, I'll say I'm not a good reader. As a child, I didn't like to read. I'd rather be outside riding my bike or doing whatever than reading. And so as an adult, I am not that good of a reader, but I have to force myself to continue to read, or I would just quit. It just takes me a long time to get through books. So anyway, one interesting thing that caught my eye right off the bat was you may be a procrastinator if. And so what do you have some of the fill in the blanks on that?
Yeah, I think I think one of them was you think that timelines are just suggestions.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. That's kind of like.
So I tried to make a humorous attempt at just some of the things that, and it's funny because people always mention that and say, "You know what? Oh, that's me." Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's driving down the road with my mother one day, we blew through a stop sign, and that's what she said. Well, I thought that was just a suggestion. I'm like, no, it's definitely something we need to adhere to. You have a question? You have something? Okay. Go ahead. No, I thought Terry might have had something. Go ahead.
I think what are the other ones that talk about, people that love this concept of being fashionably late.
Right.
And there's certain, if it's a social gathering, yeah, that could be acceptable. But if it's an interview, that could be a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, or walk into a meeting with 15 other people, and if they're already 5 minutes into it, trying to catch you up, the disruption that it causes when that happens, it can throw people, speakers out of whack, especially if it's your boss or your CEO and you're the one that's walking in late. Not a good impression. That's not the time to be fashionably late.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
I was a terrible. I could not be on time to anything. It would at least 20 minutes late all the time for probably 15 years, and then I just got. Somebody did that to me a couple of times, and I was like, hey, I don't like having to wait on people. I am not put on this earth to wait on you. And then I'm like, wait, why'd it take me 15 years to figure that one out?
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. And speaking of that, there is a cost of procrastination. So how can we put that in terms of cost?
So here's the thing, right? So a lot of times you think you're getting away with it because a lot of times there's no obvious immediate consequence. Like let's say if you're, let's say you're late, and there may not be like the procrastination police coming to arrest you. Like there's no immediate consequence. So you think you've gotten away with it. Or let's say you procrastinated when you were putting together a presentation and you did the presentation and everybody says, oh, great job, Roy, that was excellent. So you start telling yourself, I work better under pressure.
Yeah.
But the truth is the presentation is not going to be as good as it would have been if you had actually taken the time.
Exactly.
And then if you go back to let's say you're late to a meeting with someone, they may not say anything to you, but you may have impacted their relationship. And they're thinking, oh, he doesn't respect my time. So there's a hidden cost. And I just think procrastination can be like a silent killer when it comes to the pursuit of your goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and in your professional life, it can definitely be not only being late to meetings, but also that, that misspelled word in the presentation because you were finishing typing it out at 3 o'clock this morning and you hit send before you had time to look over it. And I am just the opposite. Absolutely. I've got to have. I'm not I'm a non-writer too. I love to write, but it's just not my thing. And so that is something I have to get a way head start on because I have to do an outline, let it set, write it, and then let it set 2 or 3 times. I need to really go back through this thing. I cannot just pump something out at the last minute and hit send and hope that it's even readable. So I definitely can identify with that for sure.
And let me tell you, when it comes to writing, that's one of the things I've learned that, the best thing to do is just start. Yeah. And like a lot of times, if I ever write, I'll just start as soon as I hear about it. It could be 5 minutes. I could write a sentence. But what'll happen is, as I'm going through my day, if I'm in the shower, all of a sudden these ideas start coming to me.
Right.
About, hey, what I should add. And it's amazing that I think when you start, it builds momentum and it makes it easier for you to finish, and the end product is much better.
Right. Yeah, the blank piece of paper can taunt you, but if you'll just get something down on it, it's easier to build off of that. And like you said, those ideas just seem to come to you. So, and that was another thing happened to be on the list here is, the lack of clarity. And so I think clarity can go a couple ways when we talk about procrastination. But so what about the lack of clarity? How can we gain more clarity? And I know that example as being a writer, I can gain more clarity the more time I have to think about it instead of being crunched, at the very last minute. But can you expound on what you meant? What were you talking about with clarity in the book itself?
So I believe that clarity is the starting point of success. And a lot of times we procrastinate because we're really not clear on where it is that we're trying to go and what it is that we ultimately want to be and what we want to accomplish.
Right.
And so what happens is when you're not clear on the destination, every suggestion you get sounds like a good idea. and you end up saying yes to things. Hey, you want to chair this committee? Oh, yes. Okay. Hey, you want to be the president of the PTA? Oh, sure. Yes. But when you're clear on what you want, you can line your decisions up against that North Star.
Right.
And so it's so important to really begin with the end in mind. And it could be something as simple as, let's say you're doing a presentation. What's the end result? Like, what do you want the audience to be able to do as a result of hearing you? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to feel? Just thinking along those lines, like if I'm doing a presentation and I get clear on that, it makes preparing it much easier. Right. And so that's why clarity is the starting point.
Okay. Well, the other danger for me with procrastination is, there's a lot of things in life that just come up that we can't control, or that, we have to address, in priority with other issues. And so I tell you what I found, luckily young in life, and it didn't really kill me, but I think it really set me on a course the rest of my life, is that when you procrastinate and you work right up to the deadline before you get started, 4 other things can come up where it's just physically impossible for you to complete that task. It's not that you wished, it's not a better use of time or anything else. It's just that within, it could be something like a car breaking down. It could be a death in the family. But, those are the moments when things like that happen. You think about, wow, I just wasted 2 weeks of not working on this thing, and now here I am down to the deadline and I can't do it, and now I've got to try to explain to typically somebody is counting on you for whatever you're doing for them, and so now you have to explain to them why you haven't got it done, which is the worst feeling in the entire world.
So it's funny you mentioned that, right? I have that happened to me in college. I had a great relationships with this teacher, was getting good high grade throughout the whole semester. It was time for like the final paper, and I waited around to the last minute and had all these computer problems, couldn't get it in by the due date, dropped like 50%. He showed me no favoritism or anything.
Right.
I thought we had a great relationship, and I blamed this breakdown, but it was really my fault.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I would have started earlier, and the problem is we are terrible at predicting how long things really take.
Exactly.
And we're bad because we think that nothing's going to go wrong. We don't anticipate, right? We don't anticipate the computer could go down, the Wi-Fi could go down. We don't anticipate that there could be traffic on the way. So yeah, that's one of the reasons not to procrastinate, because Murphy, you've heard of Murphy's Law. Mr. Exactly. Murphy eventually is going to visit you.
Yes, they will jump up and bite you. It's off track a little, but I have a similar story about I was taking I'm an adult learner, so I've been to school like most of my adult life, and one of my classes was like a hybrid online in person, and so I had waited till the last minute to do something. And as I'm working, my dog jumped up and hit the keyboard and messed this whole, it was kind of like a mini quiz, messed the whole thing up. I was at the end of the timeline, so I couldn't retake it. Now, if you don't think about an adult having to go in and tell a college professor that my new electronic story is my dog ate my homework, by jumping on my keyboard or whatever. Oh, anyway, all right. We'll get back on track. So, I guess one of the big reasons that you talk about for the procrastination is that fear of failure. Let me take that back. It's fear. And there's a lot of things. We could be the fear of failure, and you even highlight we can be afraid of success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's start with the fear of failure.
Okay.
And it's a lot of times, what if? What if I get criticized? What if? Now I work with students and they're afraid. What if I get a low grade on the test? It's out there. So the key, and one of the things I try to teach people, is to focus more on the process then you do the outcome. That's really the best way to overcome the fear of failure. So what is the process that leads to success, right? So if it's a presentation, how much time do you need to practice? If you're studying, like how many hours a day do you need to be studying? And if you meet the right process, and maybe it involves getting a coach, getting a tutor, getting a mentor.
Right.
But you can be comfortable when you know that you're prepared.
Yeah.
So that helps you to overcome that fear of failure. And here's the thing. It is okay to be scared. It is okay to have fear.
Yeah.
But it's not okay to stop.
Right.
That's the key.
Yeah.
You have to leverage it. You have to understand that fear is actually a part of the process, especially. So here's the thing too. When you're doing something that's like aspirational, you're doing something that's moving you towards your goal, you start hearing the voices inside your own head. Like, what if this happens? Or are you sure?
Right.
What if you just aren't good at it?
Right.
So that's why you really have to press past that and focus on the process. So that's the fear of failure. I can get to the fear of success as well.
Yeah. The one thing I was going to add to that is that, that little nagging question that we have in the back of our mind, it's actually a good thing, because what I've found is presentations, projects, there's that little fear makes you go the extra mile to double check, make sure. Sometimes if you don't have that little voice of fear, you think you've got this handled, and then that's when things go totally wrong. So sometimes I kind of embrace that to make it's a good feeling to have a little bit of apprehension, because it makes me double check myself even more. Just one more double check, make sure all the numbers line up.
No, that's the way to put fear in the right perspective. But what a lot of people do, they just stop.
Right.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. I just stop, or I don't start, because then I start getting into my head. Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah. And let's. That's something else we want to talk about too.
Oh, this is why he brought me on here.
Yeah. But let's before we jump way far ahead, let's talk about that fear of success, because while that sounds so counterintuitive and so crazy, it's actually a thing, and it's a thing more than what anybody, I think, normal people really realize.
Yeah. So my experience with the fear of success is the fear that I won't be able to measure up to the new standard. Right. So let's say, if I do this presentation and it goes really well, they may expect me to do more presentations. Right. And what if I don't have, I just have that one good one.
Right.
So that fear of success, that I won't be able to live up to the new expectation.
Right.
And for that, I have a formula. It's be, do, have, right? So just focus on, if I can become more, then I can do more. And if I can do more, I can ultimately have more. So really, you really think about, always getting better, always, focusing on becoming more and developing yourself, and you won't have any reason to fear success.
That's awesome. Yeah, the other thing, just one last quick thing on fear is that, it can be the unknown as well. But you also mentioned that fear is the future. So fear is it's not what we see right in front of us, or where we're at right this minute, but it's usually a fear of something that may or may not happen. And I've heard in the past, that's borrowing trouble. If it's not even happening, we're wasting our time thinking about something that may or may not happen.
Yeah. So it's funny. There's I talk about this in my presentations. There's a study, the Legacy Project, where they went to these different senior citizen homes and assisted living communities, and they asked them, these senior citizens, if you look back at your life, what is your biggest regret? It's called the Legacy Project, and they said the number one answer was the amount of time that was wasted on worrying on worst case scenarios that never became reality.
Wow.
Again,
and we do that.
Your fears in the future. You think, and think about, we all have examples. We dreaded something that was in the future. We said, what if this, what if that, what if this? And then it was fine.
Right.
A lot of time that was wasted.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times that fear may keep you from doing something, and that was another great life lesson that an older gentleman told me when I was young, is that once you get old, you don't regret you don't regret as much the things that you did. You regret the things that you didn't do. So we can't let fear stand in the way of doing things, because that's what we look back and think, wow, if I'd have only tried this, it would have been okay. And then I think that's where we get too hung up on failure, that failure is not necessarily bad. We kind of laugh about that a lot around here, is that, we're willing to try anything. If we fail, and we've been cooking during the pandemic, we've been cooking a lot together, and I am no cook by any means, but it's like, what, we get in there and we just throw stuff in, and I say, what, the worst thing that happens if it blows up and it's no good is, we drive up to the McDonald's and get a hamburger. We're not going to starve to death. So we can't be hamstrung by worrying about, is this dish going to fail? And it's the same in life. You have to take calculated risk. I mean, you don't want to run across a highway thinking there's no way that a car's going to hit me, because you're probably going to be wrong on that one. But, we take the calculated risk that, if we can't get ourselves hurt, that just take the chance and learn the lesson from our failure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
and like I have something in the book. I like a character. It's going to sound a little morbid, but I call him Deathbed Eric. Right. So sometimes if I have a major, if I'm taking a chance, I would ask myself, what would Deathbed Eric think? So if I'm, later in life on my deathbed, would I say that would I regret that I did it, or would I say, oh man, no, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah. So
you really have to think.
Right.
And it like goes back to what you said. You really regret the chances that you didn't take more than you do the chances you took that didn't work out.
Exactly. Yeah, and again, it's like that fear of failure right this minute may be a little stronger, but once you get years past it, you look back on life's times and think, well, at least I tried it. I know it doesn't work now, so I'm not going to do it again. But anyway, and that kind of leads into the next thing is perfectionism. And you say perfectionism is the enemy of progress, but also it can be the analysis paralysis, that we are so scared to get out of the starting gate because we're going to research it one more time. We're going to look this up. We're going to look that up, until we've just wasted all of our time researching and we haven't actually done.
Absolutely. I mean, and perfectionism is something that I can struggle with. That's really kind of one of my big vices. Yeah. I can be a perfectionist. But, and you just hit on it. We can't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress.
Right.
The key. You just have to, sometimes you just have to focus. Sometimes you get in a situation where you're not going to have 100% of the answers.
Right.
You're not going to know everything. You're not going to have the clear picture. You just have to, what's the next step I can take? And it could be calling a mentor. Here's what I like. Calling someone who has the result that you're working towards. So if you're writing a book for the first time, who's a successful author that it could be just calling that person.
Right.
And so we need taking steps. That's the key.
Yeah. Yeah, and taking that a step further to like hiring people, that's something that I look for when I hire workers, managers. I know if somebody tells me they have all the answers, not the person that I want to work for me, because we don't. I mean, I can tell you from experience, we just don't. But that person that knows how to go out, do the research, get the answers.
Use the resources they have.
Exactly. Those are the people that tend to be the best, and they're not scared. They don't, again, kind of tying this in with procrastination. Instead of starting a project, they will get out there and do some research and bring some ideas back, kind of have that nucleus to get started, and then you can either say yes, no, or let's tweak it a little bit, and then you have at least a path versus, no starting point at all. So very, very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the other thing that you mentioned is impulsivity, and I guess I would to me, that almost sounded counterintuitive, that if you were impulsive, you're probably like starting, not procrastinating, but starting, maybe without thinking, putting too much thought into it. So how does the impulsivity play into our procrastination?
Well, it could be, it's hard to focus because the next shiny penny takes your attention away. And that's why college students, for example, tend to be impulsive. So that's why they'll put things off. They start studying and then, hey, you get a phone call about a party.
Right.
Oh, hey.
Gotta go to the party.
Yeah.
But I mean, there have been a lot of people that I work with that literally, they get distracted very easily. They're very impulsive. Yeah. So sometimes it's as simple as taking a sticky note, putting it on your main computer, and writing that thing that you have to do right there.
Right.
And believe it or not, that's helped a lot of people that are highly impulsive to deal with that.
Interesting.
In the book, if you, I think it's around chapter 5, there's a quiz that I put together to help you to see if that's something that you struggle with, that can cause you to procrastinate.
Yeah.
See, the whole theme of the book is it's all about awareness.
Yeah.
And when you're aware of some of these triggers, like, hey, you know what? I can be impulsive. I can be a perfectionist. You now can put the steps in place to overcome.
Right. Yeah, and that was the other thing that you have at the back is the, I think it's called the Procrastination Prevention Pyramid. Yeah, and it looked like that, you take the, she's going to hand me the book here.
Sorry.
It looks like that.
I forgot we were on video.
It's like we take, activity at the top, activity, automation, animation, awareness, and attitude. But the nice thing is, it looks like as you go through this, you start and you break these down one at a time and kind of look at each one of those, I guess, in order to evaluate it and then decide what kind of action you can take to put yourself back on the right track.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically, and I can go through it quickly here.
Yeah, sure.
Get an idea. So at the base of the pyramid is your attitude. That's at the foundation, because really your attitude and your mindset is the foundation of your success. And studies show that if you just sit back and listen to your own mental chatter, 80% of it is negative.
Oh, wow.
If you think about it, if you just sit back, just sit back and be quiet and listen to some of the things that are going on. Most of the time, 80% of it is negative. So we have this bad habit of just thinking negative thoughts and talking badly about ourselves ultimately. So the best way to break a bad habit is to replace it with a better one. And that better habit is really gratitude, being intentional about being grateful.
Yeah.
And if you need to do a gratitude journal, I have people start what I call a win log, right? So they have to tell me what their wins are. So if I'm doing a coaching session, the first thing you're going to tell me is what your wins are since the last session. Because again, I want to break that cycle. Because what happens is, if you are a pessimist, you're more likely to procrastinate.
Okay,
so
interesting.
That's at the foundation of the pyramid. And then, really quick, then you've got awareness. Really being aware of like your power times. Are you a morning person? Are you a night owl? And the key is to schedule your high priority activities around the times of day when you have the most energy.
Okay.
So then you get to animation. So animation is really about your energy levels. And it's not really time management. It's more about energy management.
Okay.
And people that are highly successful have a habit of getting a lot of cardio. And that stimulates your brain and you start feeling better. You have more energy. You procrastinate less when you feel better.
Yeah.
Right? Then you have automation. And automation is, and I wish somebody would have told me this back in the day, automation is all about the fact that just because something has to be done, it doesn't mean that you have to do it.
Right. Exactly.
That's automation.
Yeah.
So you need to have systems set up so that these things that need to be done, but you don't have to do it, they can be delegated. You can set up like use technology and have it automatically taken care of. But that's really what automation is all about. And that keeps you from procrastinating because you're freed up to focus on the things you really should be doing. And then lastly is activity. Now I have that at the top of the pyramid because you can't get to the top without taking action.
Right.
And you have to know, make sure you're doing the right things and setting priorities and all that good stuff. So that, in a nutshell, that's the pyramid.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. I like that. And getting to the card, well, a couple things that you've said is gratitude, and that's one thing I've noticed more through the pandemic is, guests especially talking more about the gratitude, and not for the big things, not for the givens, our health, our families, but take pride and take a little bit of feel good for those little victories that we have every day. Just like, I got the trash out before the trash truck was driving down the street. Doesn't sound like much, but if you got 2 weeks worth of trash piling up, it's a big deal. So, it's like take stock of those little victories because they mean a lot. And the other thing that we were talking about the other day, we went for a walk, or she has to start walking with me, because if I go by myself, I have so much time to think and my head is so clear. I come back with 100-page list of ideas and things that we need to do and implement. So she's like, yeah, I'm going to have to go and talk to you where you can't think so much.
Oh my gosh, he has so many things, and I'm just so overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, I'll get right on that.
But it is, for me, it's surprising, get out, especially in this really nice weather, and just take a brisk 15 or 20-minute walk, and just how the creativity just seems to start flowing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, and that's, I guess, kind of one more thing on that is that, we are so scheduled, so heavy today. That's another thing I think we have to really watch is not being overscheduled, because myself, since I picked up the book, I've been trying to, I take more stock in my personal journey of when do I seem to procrastinate. And it's usually after a full day, and I have some things I need to do in the evening, and it's easier just to sit over and watch the evening news, or, have a bowl of popcorn or whatever, sit and talk with Terry, thinking about, I need to really get up and do that. So, I have to reevaluate not being so full. I can take that time to where, I guess it ties back into the energy too. I have the energy to get up and, get these tasks completed.
Good. No, I'm glad. I mean, you sound like your awareness is heightened now, and you're starting to see the things that trigger you.
Yeah, because I think, and Terry may agree or disagree, but, I feel like on the whole, I'm not that bad of a procrastinator, but I know that I have times that during the day or during the week when I'm worse than others. And, I felt that the last couple of days they've been very heavy. And so, just having to try to, if I ever get away from the desk and sit down on the couch for a minute, hard to get up and get back in the swing of things. So definitely.
No, you're not. You are really not a procrastinator, I don't think. You are an idea man. You have so many of them, though.
Yeah, that's right.
It makes me tired.
Yeah. Well, Eric, we appreciate you being here. An awesome book. Let me show that one more time. I'm going to put it up, and I will put a picture of the book up on the website, as well as in the show in one of the show notes. I can get the cover in there, so we'll be sure and put that up. I think everybody needs to rush out and get a copy, because even if you're not a total procrastinator, I think we all have a little bit of that procrastination in us, and I'll just recommend, just go ahead and pick yourself up too, save yourself some heartache. So
he thinks he's getting this back.
Yeah, so
go order your second one, will you?
So your loved one can have a copy too, and you'll get to read one. But so before we let you go, so what is one tool or a habit or something that you do every day in your either business or personal life to not necessarily help keep you from procrastinating, but it could be. But what's something that you do every day that you just couldn't make it without doing?
So I have a 3x5 card.
Okay.
That I keep with me at all times, and I call this little habit the Twiggs Top 5. So what I do is at the end of the day, I think about what are the 5 critical things that I need to do for the following day.
Okay.
That these 5 things are things that are going to move me forward as it relates to my purpose. And so I'll write them down. And then when I start, my goal is to, I don't care what happens, if there's a power outage, if there's some tsunami, I'm going to get these 5 things done. And I tell you what, that is such a critical habit for me. And what it does is it builds confidence.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm doing what I said that I would do.
Yeah.
And so that if I could recommend one habit for your followers, it would be that.
Yeah.
Make a list of your 5 critical priorities and make sure you're winning every day.
Yeah.
Check that out.
There's mine. I had to reach over on my desk and pull mine because that's. Yeah. I usually keep my to-do list, but the 3x5 card, it's excellent because it's easy to put in your shirt pocket. I have it with me all the time, so that's great. I love that. Yeah, I've tried to move to a more of an online to-do list, but I keep coming back to the 3x5 because you just can't beat that. So.
Yeah, I like writing better. Like you, I remember I went through a time where I was doing the automated ones, but I really like the handwritten.
Yeah. That's great, Eric. We certainly appreciate it. So tell people how they can reach out, not only for book information. I guess they can get that on, I think I got it on Amazon, but how they can get a hold of you to talk about the book, talk about coaching, speaking, anything else that you have going on there.
So you can reach me directly within the What Now Movement Facebook group. I'm the president of the What Now Movement. At this time, we got over 1,400 entrepreneurs, career professionals, and authors in this group. And every day we're providing content to help you to keep moving forward. But no, you can contact me directly. You can interact with. I would recommend. It's a free group, but there's so much networking that happens in the group.
Awesome.
We're sharing 15-minute videos. Every day, somebody in the group does a 15-minute video. Mondays on motivation, Tuesdays time management, Wednesdays wellness, Thursdays on being thankful, and then Fridays on fitness.
Okay.
So if someone wants to interact with me, you can meet me right there in the What Now Movement Facebook group.
Okay.
I'm going now.
I was going to say, as soon as we get off here, I'm heading over there and join up too.
I'm so glad you said that because I was about to say you are officially invited to the What Now Movement group.
We're going to crash the party.
That's right.
Yes.
We're not procrastinating. We're going to get on that one right now. Eric, you've been an awesome guest. We appreciate it very much, taking time out of your day. Like I said, good book. Appreciate you writing it because I know that there are a lot of people that can gain a lot of insight in that and be more productive throughout not only your professional life, but your personal life. We didn't really get into that, but it can hurt your personal relationships just as much as it can your professional ones too. So pick up a copy and see what you can do to help yourself. Again, I'm Roy. This is the Business of Business podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, and now YouTube. We will be starting last week. We started putting up these episodes, video tape recordings of these calls as well. So go over and check us out. Until next time, thanks a lot. I'm Roy.
I'm Terry. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you for having me.